So now we're coming to our chapter 34, Madhura-rasa-vicara, Madhura-rasa-vicara, different categories of Sakhis. So we've had many descriptions coming through the previous chapters of the different aspects of the heroines and the heroes, etc. This Prosita Bhartika and the Swadina Bhartika, etc. These different 8 types of heroines. But now we're coming to the categories of Sakhis, and I just want to, for a few moments, go over some of the vocabulary that we're going to come into now in this 34th chapter, and then try to familiarize ourselves with it a little bit at the beginning. Probably many of you are already familiar with it, but many of you won't be so familiar with it, and the terminologies, the vocabulary can be confounding or bewildering for us. So if we understand 2 principles initially, that Radhika herself she is Atyantiki Adhika. This is who is Radhika. She is Atyantiki Adhika. Atyantiki means that there is no one greater. No one surpasses her in all areas. No one is even a little less than her. This is in relationship to Radhika. There are Atyantiki Yuteshwaris. We spoke about the Utes, the different groups of devotees. We understand the whole mood of what we're describing here is there are billions of different Lakshmis, Gopis, Shaktis of Krishna. And the Acharyas, particularly Rupa Goswami, he's defining the different characteristics and natures of each of them, in putting them in individual groups, but at the same time, within those groups, everyone has their unique relationship. So he's going to give us such a picture of the different emotional states of consciousness within all of the different gopis. This is what this chapter is about, the different categories of Sakhis. So there are, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur described 300 billion Sakhis taking part in the Rasa Leela. So there's just a few vocabulary words that is nice to get a handle on before we actually come in the chapter. And the first is to understand who is Radhika. She is Atyantiki Adhika. Adhika. This Adyantika means greater, or the greatest, as I just described. And Adhika, Adi, this prefix of Adi, this means original. Like we have Adi Purush, we have Adi Ras. There are so many different prefixes of Adi. What else? Adi Purush, Adi Kar. Adi Kar, yes, Adi Kar. Kar means to do. It's from the verb ka. That's the root, to do. So Adi Kar, the origin of the ability to do. Sometimes we say Adhikar is like eligibility. It is eligibility. It also means qualities, and it means form. Adhikar. So Adi Kavaya also, the original poet. So Adi, this word Adi. So we're familiar with the word Adi already. So Adhikar means that personality, that original personality. In other words, they're sitting in their original place, on their platform. So this Atyantiki Adhika, this is specifically, if it's alone, it's for Radhika. But if it's in reference to the Yuteshwaris, they also can be called the greatest in their Utes. So they are also called Atyantiki Adhika. So that's the first terminology, Atyantiki Adhika. And then the second, relatively great, relative to the Atyantiki, are the Apekshiki. The apekshiki are relatively, they are inferior to the adyantiki, but still they are very great in their own ways. This apekshiki, this is relatively great. That's the meaning of apekshiki. So we have two words here. Adyantiki means the greatest, and apekshiki means relatively great. So we would describe, for example, Lalita Sakhi as being apekshiki. And this apekshiki, in regards to Lalita Sakhi, we can say prakara. This word prakara. I'm just trying to introduce ourselves to a few words, terminologies, vocabularies that will be coming up in this chapter to give us some bearing on some familiarity with them. So Radhika herself is actually Adyantiki Adhika Madhya. This word Madhya, this means neither. Prakara means very bold, strong, even harsh. Prakara. We know Lalita Sakhi is like that. That's who she is. That's why she's able to perform such amazing services to both Radha and Krishna. And we often hear described as pragalba or pragalbata, this harshness or this strong anger. Of course, it's all transcendental, but it's just a mood, an emotion. So Lalita is apekshika adhika prakara, and Radhika is adyantika adhika madhya. Madhya means neither harsh nor soft. So prakara is harsh, and madhya is in the middle, and mridvi is soft. This word mridvi will come up in the chapter. Mridvi, M-R-D-V-I, mridvi. And this means very soft. Soft in the emotional aspects. So we have these three terminologies, prakara, madhya, and mridvi. And we've had the two initial ones of adyantiki and apekshika. So if you're writing these down, it's very helpful to begin to not be too bewildered by the term. Because once we get over the vocabulary, then we can enter into the real heart and meanings of what these descriptions are about, and it becomes very tasteful. And then there's some other words just to help us, is sama. Sama means equal. We have, like in that Brahmabhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakanchati, Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu. Sama is mentioned many times, so this sama word is not a foreign word for us. Sama. It means equal or equipoised. So sama, those who are in the middle, sama. And then we have another word, lagu. Lagu means relatively less. Sometimes it's translated as inferior, but there's nothing inferior in the spiritual realm. These are all descriptions of the Sakhi's emotions. So a lagu, for example, Sakhi is someone who's perhaps shy, more shy, and will sit more in the background, and is being termed like somewhat inferior in a sense, but it's not actually inferior. It just means someone who has that characteristic of not pushing themselves forward. That's a lagu. So we have combinations. We have sama lagu. That means equipoised as a lagu who's somewhat inferior. And then we have sama madhya. These are equipoised, and madhya, the mood is like a balance between very passionate and soft. Madhya. Radhika is madhya. Radhika is adyantika adhika madhya. This is who is Radhika. Lalita is apekshika adhika prakara. If we get Radha and Lalita down and understand those meanings, then the rest of it will sort of slot into place more easily. So we have all these different descriptions of the emotional states. So basically these terminologies, sama, lagu, and mritvi. Sama means equal, lagu is less, and mritvi is soft. Madhya is in the middle. Prakara is more harsh, more angry, more bold. So these are the principal words in the vocabulary that I've described them all just in a few moments. So I know when I first began to absorb in this topic, they were very foreign to me. But after a short space of time and just application of trying to understand their significance and why is Rupa Goswami describing, this is actually all from Hindi psychology basically. It's all describing the psychological, emotional makeup of the different individuals. That's why it's so fascinating to have the privilege to enter so deeply into the moods of the ras, tattva topics gifted by Rupa Goswami in this way. So that's just a very, very brief overview that I thought would complement or help us in not feeling lost in this chapter if you get confused by all the terminology. But we've sent a file to you with all the different kinds of nyayaks in each yut and the different combinations, the yuteshwaris, and basically I've mentioned everything just now. Prakara, bold; sama, equipoised; lagu, somewhat inferior; mritvi, soft; madhya, balanced in the middle. So we'll just gradually appreciate these terminologies in the vocabulary. Okay, so we'll begin the chapter, and I hope that what I've said will enhance our ability to appreciate what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is expressing here. So the next day, Vijay Kumar honored Prasad somewhat earlier than usual and set out along the seashore towards Kashi Mishra Bhavan. When he saw the ocean waves, the sentiments of the ocean of Ras began to surge within his heart. Overwhelmed with bhav, he thought to himself, "Aha, the ocean is inspiring bhav to swell within me." Understand this mood, that we get a picture of Vijay Kumar who's totally immersed in this topic. This has become his 24/7 meditation. This is what's needed or necessary for the sadhak who wants to come into this understanding of what is bhakti ras. It requires, it demands a total absorption away from the material considerations and distractions of life. So this meditation, we see that Vijay Kumar is completely absorbed in that, 100%, to the extent where he's just walking on the beach, and as soon as he sees the ocean waves, he immediately begins to feel great affinity for remembering rasa. So, aha, the ocean is inspiring bhav to swell within me. Although it is a material substance, it is evoking my deeply concealed transcendental sentiments. It is just like the ocean of ras that my Prabhu has described to me. When I leave my gross and subtle bodies far behind, so he's understanding his gross body and his subtle body made up of so many different desires. That's the container for the desires. We have 4 types of karma. We have the parabdha, aparabdha, then we have the kuta and the bij. The kuta and the bij are these seeds of desires that haven't even fructified. That's the most subtle. And then we have those seeds that have fructified, and then we have those seeds that have actually germinated. That's the aparabdha, and then this is the parabdha. This is the manifestation of it. So these 4 are all contained, and propelled within from the subtle body. So the subtle body and the gross body both are material. That's the subtle body is the mind, intelligence, false ego. They're both material. So they both must be purified, and to a degree where we can't disregard our gross body, we can't disregard the subtle body, but we see the priority of our focus on the spiritual conception, which has nothing to do with this material world again at all. And in this case, we will be feeling so much anand, so much bliss and peace, not connecting seriously to this material world, but connecting to the spiritual world. When I leave my gross and subtle bodies far behind, that means complete absorption in the spiritual realm, remembering all these different types of Sakhis, etc. I find myself sitting upon the shore of the ocean of rasa, relishing rasa in my manjari swarup. My manjari swarup. It's my manjari swarup. That is the benediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Swa Bhakti Shriyam. This is the gift that Mahaprabhu has come to give. He has not come to give Sakhi Bhav. He's come to give Manjari Bhav. And this is such a priceless jewel, because in that mood of Manjari Bhav, that Manjari is sold out, cent% to her Yuteshwari, which practically in our Gaudiya line is always Srimati Radhika. And we will only hear her name glorified through all the acharyas. I want to be a maidservant of Srimati Radhika. This is what Rasa Tattva is about. How to actually come into this mood. It's not speaking to us about how to give up the material world. That's supposed to be behind us by the time we come to this place. Or our interest has been grabbed by these rasic topics that only are manifesting in the Madhurya realm of Braj. It's in this realm of Vrindavan. So if we're hearing these rasic Vrindavan pastimes, we're going to be attracted to want to know more about the Sakhis, more about the Manjaris, more about who are Radha Kaya, the Kaya Vyuha of Radhika, etc. All of this is going to inspire us more and more, moment by moment. So relish my Manjari Swarup. Krishna, who is imbued with the luster of a fresh monsoon rain cloud, is the exclusive Lord of my life's breath. Krishna is the Lord. Shri Radhika, the daughter of Vrishabhana Maharaj, who keeps her gorgeous presence at Krishna's side, is my be-all and end-all of my very existence. So it's not separating Radha and Krishna. When your nishta is towards Radhika, you can't be favorable towards Radhika and ignore Krishna. What is the mood in Radhika's heart is only to Krishna, that Krishna nishta. So it's an understanding of this. This requires diligent practice and bhajan and focus and mercy more than anything. Mercy of Guru, mercy of our Guru Parampara, to pick us up and carry us into this place. This ocean is the transformation of Radha and Krishna's intimate love, pranaya. He's looking at the material ocean, but he's imagining it to be the ocean of transcendental love. There are waves, etc. within the ocean he's going to describe. The rows of waves are the different types of bhav that combine to comprise rasa itself. So we've talked about that already. What is the vyabhachari bhavs, these 33 or sanchari bhavs, these emotions that come and agitate the lake of the sthai bhav. And when these waves rise and settle down, they create rasa by their manifestation up and down and so on. It's creating these moods of emotions. This ocean is the transformation of Radha and Krishna's intimate love, pranaya. The rows of waves are the different types of bhav that combine to comprise rasa itself. I am a Sakhi on the shore, and the manifold waves rising up in this ocean are bhavs which drown me in prema ras. He's saying he's a Sakhi. He's already said that he's thinking of his Manjari Sarup, so don't get confused here, thinking, oh, now he's suddenly a Sakhi. No, he's a Sakhi because that's female. but he's still in his Manjari Sarup, which is a maidservant of Sri Radhika. Krishna is the ocean of Ras. That is why the color of the ocean is exactly like his. We look at the ocean, it's a beautiful monsoon blue color. The waves of love in that ocean are Srimati Radhaji. She creates the rasa within the ocean. Krishna is just practically neutral in one sense. My Gurudev often describes like Nirvishesh Brahm, without the waves coming from. It's Radhika's love that agitates Krishna first, and then Krishna is going to reciprocate with that love. But the love is coming from Radhika. Initially, it's like the Shakti. It's like the illumination around the sun. The sun itself is surrounded by illumination. The illumination is the energy of the sun, and the energy is acting on the planet of the sun. The sun itself is just radiating, but the energy is actually stimulating the sweetness or the pranaya of the relationship between the energy and the energetic, the Shakti and the Shaktiman. This is the principle. The waves of love in that ocean are Srimati Radhaji, and that is why the ocean waves are white. We see the cresting waves of the ocean, they're white. The high towering waves are the Sakhis, and the small waves are their maidservants, Paricharika. Among them, I am a follower of a Paricharika, like a particle of spray on a distant shore. This is giving us a little bit picture of the enormity of what we're just going to dive into now, of the billions and billions of different descriptions of the characteristics and emotional states of all the different Sakhis and Manjaris. What is their state also? So he's feeling very small and insignificant in relationship to all the Sakhis in the waves. Vijay Kumar derived great delight from these beautiful meditations. Actually, if we go through this again ourselves, we can read this so many times and immerse ourselves in, when we're alone, this mood of Vijay Kumar, witnessing the waves and having this feeling of the Sakhis and their moods on top of the lake of the Staibhav. After a short while, his external consciousness returned, and continuing slowly on his way, he gradually arrived at the residence of Sri Guru Goswami. He offered his sastang pranam and sat down near his Gurudev, feeling very insignificant. Every sentence of Bhaktivinoda Thakur has significance, and he's feeling very insignificant because Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself has written one time, he says, there was a question once asked, why are all the acharyas expressing themselves as being so fallen and so insignificant? They're always saying like that. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes, he says, when you come to the shore of the material ocean, you naturally feel dwarfed or insignificant by the power of the ocean. When you see the strength of the ocean, it makes you feel very small. What to speak of if you come to that transcendental ocean? Then we have no standing. We're just in awe. So that mood is what is in the heart of Vijay Kumar. He's feeling very insignificant. Sri Guru Goswami then inquired with affectionate concern, Vijay, is everything all right? Because in that very humble condition, then it's like we're not so externally exuberant or anything like that. Just quietly sitting. Vijay, Prabhu, your mercy alone is the very root of auspiciousness for me. I want to thoroughly understand the different categories of Sakhis so that I may become their follower. So now his interest is excited by who are all these different Sakhis who worship Brajendranandan Shyamsundar. What is the nature of all these different personalities? And so many different groups. We have the principal 8 Parama Preshta Sakhis. And then we have the Priyanam Sakhis. And then we have the Pran Sakhis, the Nitya Sakhis, and the Sakhis. 5 types of Sakhis described. And then there's millions of them in different groups and so on. This is what we're going to describe today. Goswami. Vijay, it is beyond the capability of any jiva to describe the glories of the Sakhis. But still, I have realized it practically because I have been under the Anugatya guidance of Sri Rupa. The beautiful Sakhis of Braj cause the complete and perfect unfolding of Prem Leela. They are the storehouse of trust in Braj Yugal, the divine couple of Braj. Only one who is very fortunate has the desire to know clearly about the elaborate considerations concerning the Sakhis. The divisions I have already mentioned, namely Adhika, we already discussed that today, Sama and Lagu, we discussed that today also, and Prakara, Madhya and Ritvi, we also discussed these today, also exist among the Sakhis who are affiliated with a Ute. So now we're putting them in the categories. I have described all these divisions to you yesterday. In this connection, it is always befitting to remember the authoritative statements of Sri Rupa Goswami. Prem Sambhogya Sad Gunadyadi Adyadikat Adhika Sakhi Sama Tat Samyato Jnanaya Tal Lagudvat Tata Lakhu Durlangya Vakya Prakara Prakaryata Gora Vichotita Tad Undatva Bhavan Mridvi Madhya Tat Samyam Agata Atyantiki Kand Akid Adikadivadi Vadi Beda Purvavad Atra Saha Swa Yute Yuta Nataiva Syat Atra Yatyantikadika Sa Kvapi Prakara Yute Kvapi Madhya Mridu Kvachit. This is from Ujvala Nilamani, Sakhi Prakaran 3-5. My Gurudev, by the way, has given a translation of this Ujvala Nilamani, and it hasn't come out in English yet. But we have the little, as I've said before, the little Kiran, which is the compilation from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, saying the same things. Translation: some of the Sakhis are called Adhika, greater. So we describe that today, the etymology, Adi and Kara. Adi means original, supreme, and Kara means to do. So we describe that etymology. Personally, I find knowing the etymology of many of these words is very helpful for appreciating that this language, Adhika, like we have Ahankar. Ahankar means I am the doer. Kar means to do. So Ahankar, I am the doer. That means the false ego. And Adhikar is describing my eligibility, who I am, what is my identity, Adhikar, what is my topmost identity, Adhikar. Due to the abundance of their transcendental qualities and their great fortune in the matter of prem. Yes, all of these descriptions are relative to prem. This Sama, Lagu, Mridvi, Madhya, Adhika, Atyantika, they're all relative to prem. They're all there. Some Sakhis are celebrated by the name Sama because they are equal in qualities. Sama Bhuteshu, we said, is equipoised. While others are less endowed with those qualities are called Lagu. So we also describe this today. A Sakhi whose words are not easily transgressed, Dulangya, is renowned as Prakara. Prakara is someone like Lalita Sakhi, very bold, very strong. So this has its beauty, as much as the beauty is there in the Lagu. The Lagu also has their beauty. Each has its particular beauty, but there's a description of them to make us appreciate the variety, the immensity of all these Sakhis. A Sakhi who lacks gravity is called Mridvi, very light sort of type personality, Mridvi, soft. And one who has an average amount of gravity is called Madhya. This is Radhika. Radhika is Madhya. She's not so harsh and she's not so soft. She's in the middle. One should also understand divisions such as Adyantika Adika among those Sakhis. Adyantika, we describe who are the greatest. The Yuteshwari is Adyantika Adika. They are in charge of the Utes, so they are Adyantika or Adyantiki. In her own group, although she may be known as Prakara or Mridu in other Utes. It's a whole topic separate from what many of us have discussed or put our consciousness into previously. But it's the whole world of Bhakti Ras being opened up for our entrance into there or not, depending on our enthusiasm. That's all. Vijay. The Adyantika Adika Yuteshwaris are the most prominent Sakhis in their own group. So Adyantika means greater than. There's no one greater than them. They are of three types according to their respective natures. Adyantika Adika Prakara, that's strong, bold. Adyantika Adika Madhya, that's in the middle. And Adyantika Adika Mridvi, that's more soft. You have already described them. Now, by your coarseness grace, please explain this subject elaborately. Vijay Kumar wants to get right into it. Goswami, only the Yuteshwaris are called Adyantika Adika. So they are the great ones, those Yuteshwaris who are in charge. Yut Ishwari. Ishwari means the controller. So Yutishwari, Yuteshwari, the controllers of the group. A Yut is the group. So Yuteshwari is the group leader. So they are great, Adyantika Adika. Unlimitedly great. Shri Radhika is in a group, is in a category separate to everything. She is unlimitedly great overall to every. She is Adyantika Adika to everybody. But the Yuteshwaris individually are Adyantika Adika in relationship to their own groups. Now, by your causeless mercy, please explain this subject elaborately. Goswami, only the Yuteshwaris are called Adyantika Adika, unlimitedly great. The other group members are classified as Apekshika Adika, relatively great. So these two words distinguish between them, Adyantika and Apekshika. Apekshika means relatively great, but not as great as the Adyantika. The Adyantika are the greatest. The Upekshika, like Lalita Sakhi, for example, are less. So I described this in the very beginning. If we can catch these two expressions even, Adyantika and Apekshika, we'll be very peaceful in hearing all these terminologies. Apekshika Sama, relatively equal, and Apekshika Lagu, relatively unimportant. So try to understand this word unimportant as I've described. This word unimportant not meaning inferior in anything like that. It means that they've just taken themselves a mood of deep submission. It's a very sensitive place, the Lagus. Relatively unimportant. And there are also three kinds in each of these three groups. So there are 9 different types. Apekshika Adika Prakara, Apekshika Adika Madhya, Apekshika Adika Mritvi, Apekshika Sama Prakara, that means equipoised in harsh, not fully harsh, Apekshika Sama Madhya, and Apekshika Sama Mritvi. These divisions. Perhaps some enthusiastic person will write like a graph of all these. It's quite simple once you start to catch the terminologies, but we need to have more of a picture, like some connecting boxes some graphic artist will do one day. So there are 9 types altogether, yes. Apekshika Sama Mridvi, Apekshika Lagu Prakar, Apekshika Lagu Madhya, and Apekshika Lagu Mridvi. So we should be able to follow this now. There are also 2 types of Adyantika Lagu. Adyantika means the topmost. So the topmost of the Lagus. The Lagus are less, but the topmost amongst the less. Adyantika Lagu and Sama Lagu. which added to the other 9 makes 11. So when we include the Yuteshwari, there are 12 types of Nayaks in every Yut. Vijay, Prabhu, please be so merciful as to tell me about the groups of the most famous Sakhis. Goswami, the Sakhis headed by Lalita in Sri Radha's Yut are in the category of Apekshika Adhika Prakara. This is Lalita Sakhi. We described this before. The Sakhis headed by Vishaka in the same group are in the Apekshika Adhika Madhya. Vishaka is not like Lalita Sakhi. She's not so bold. She's more... Vishaka and Radha are born at the same moment. They have that much more softer. Not soft, but in between. Madhya. Mridvi would be soft. And Sakhis such as Chitra and Madhuri are Apekshika Adhika Mridvi. Yes, they are more soft. In comparison with Srimati Radhika, the Asta Sakhis headed by Sri Lalita are Apekshika Lagu, relatively unimportant. So compared to Radhika, they're relatively unimportant. Vijay, how many types of Apekshika Lagu Prakara Sakhis are there? Goswami, there are 2 sorts of Lagu Prakara Sakhi, left wing, Vamya, and right wing, Dakshina. Vijay, what are the symptoms of Vamya? Goswami, they are always eager to accept honor, and they become angry when there is any laxity in offering them respect, and they are not at all easily controlled by their Nayak. Such Nyayikas are called Vamya. In Radhika's Yut, Sakhis such as Lalita are called Vamya Prakara. Radhika is also Vamya mood, this contrary mood. We see the opposite of that is Dakshin, is compliant, like Chandravali. She will always agree if Krishna chastises, oh yes, you're right, my Supreme Lord, yes. But Radhika would say, no, you are wrong, Krishna. She will have that mood. So Krishna likes both the moods. It's not that one is necessary. He likes the mood of Radhika the best, but at the same time he loves all of the different moods. That's why they manifest. Radhika is the one who's manifesting all these moods. All of these Sakhis have all manifested from Sri Radhika to please Krishna. So Radhika's only focus is to please Krishna. So none of these groups are less in any sense, because they're all pleasing Krishna in some way or other. So just by listening and hearing these descriptions of these personalities, if we hear it even once, it'll never leave us. It'll just keep floating around. And sometimes at different times in our lives, it'll come to the surface and we'll focus on it more clearly. Radhika. Please describe the symptoms of Dakshina. Goswami, the Nayak who does not have man, who is frank and expresses herself openly, and who becomes submissive to the sweet words of the Nayak, are called Dakshin. In Srimati Radhika's Yut, Sakhis such as Tungavidya are called Dakshin Prakara. Prakara means also bold, so Dakshin, submissive and bold at the same time. Vijay, who are Atyantika Lagu? Goswamis, Sakhis such as Kusumika can be called Adyantika Lagu because they are gentle in all respects and they are insignificant in comparison with the other Sakhis. Vijay, what are the Sakhis' activities when they act as messengers, duties? So now we're coming into a slightly different topic here. We're going to come the messengers, the duties are the messengers. Goswami, when the Sakhis act as duties, when the Sakhis are acting as duties, then there are specific messengers who only act as messengers, but when the Sakhis themselves take on that role, it's a different consideration. When the Sakhis act as duties, it is their duty to arrange a meeting, avisara, in order to unite the Nyayak and the Nayika, who are staying at a distance from one another. Vijay, can the Sakhis' girlfriends be Nayikas? Can the Sakhis' girlfriends be Nayikas? Okay, can they be the heroine also, the Sakhis? Goswami, The Yuteshwaris are eternally Nayakas. They're always eternally the supreme heroine. But his question is about the other Sakhis. Can they also be the heroine in different circumstances? The Apekshika Adhika Prakara, Apekshika Adhika Madhya, and the Apekshika Adhika Mritvi Sakhis have the intrinsic natures of both Nyayak and Sakhi. They are Nayakas in relation to those who are Lagu, in comparison. So those who are somewhat less important, then the Prakara will appear like Nayakas. They'll appear more in comparison. The Sakhis in relation to those who are Adhika in comparison, so they can be called almost heroines, Naika Praya. Apekshika Sama Prakara, Madhya and Ridvi are known as Dvisama. That is, they are Sakhis to those who are Adhika, great, and Nayak to those who are Lagu. Those who are in the category of Apekshika Lagu, Prakara, Madhya and Ridvi are mainly Sakhis. Atyantiki Lagu Gopis are Yuteshwaris, and according to the calculation of the three types of Sakhis that I mentioned before, they are in the fifth category. They are Nitya Sakhis. In relation to the Yuteshwari, Apekshika Sakhis are Sakhis and duties, not Nayakas. For the Adyantiki Lagu, Nitya Sakhi, all are Nayakas, not duties. So I think I'm going to stop here today, because actually this is somewhat of a separate topic from what we discussed in the beginning, but it's still connected, of course, but it's coming into a different consideration. But I think what we have to do is to grasp the fundamental principle of these descriptions. Why are these descriptions being given? To make us appreciate the unique speciality of every single Sakhi, and how glorious every single Sakhi is in her relationship with Krishna, and what is the nature of that relationship with Krishna. Some will be in a bold mood, some will be in a more compliant mood, and some will be in a very submissive mood. So this all has sweetness for Krishna. And then there are millions of varieties in between there. So all of this is like tastes, so to speak, of this amorous relationship between Radha and between the gopis and Krishna. This is what Krishna is tasting. This is why he's Raso Vaisa. He's the embodiment of all this ras. He can absorb. My Gurudev used to explain that Krishna is like a music shop owner that has billions of instruments, but he can't play any of them. But he has them all. In other words, they're all dormant within him. All the potential to taste these. But he has a friend who can play all of them, and that is Radhika. She can play absolutely every single instrument. Every single emotion that Krishna has in his heart, she can pull out and play and touch. It's incredible. Just to make these considerations is incredible for us to think about this, because it naturally brings us so much into a complete personal conception of Krishna and the Sakhis. It leaves impersonalism far, far, far behind. We've walked far away from anything impersonal today by all these discussions and so on. So it's so purifying just to hear, even we don't understand, even we don't follow, but gradually by repetition, we will follow. Because it's not, if I can follow to some degree, I'm not so intelligent or intellectual at all. And if I can grasp it to some degree, then anyone can grasp it. So I think there's hope for all of us to understand these topics. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Yesterday we read, actually I think it was up to page 702, but I want to recap a little bit because I was reading back again today, and there's some things that I think I should have mentioned or highlighted more that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying. So on page 700, the word that I was just hunting for in my mind was Ujjvalin Lamani. It just disappeared. But to getting the desire to read the Ujjvalin Lamani, because in there, that's like, there's no real higher explanation of these topics other than that, Ujjvalin Lamani. So if we come back to page 700 and halfway down, where Goswami is talking about the Sakhis, headed by Lalita in Sri Radha's Yut, are in the category of Apekshika Adhikar Prakara. So yesterday, I began by just explaining who is Sri Radhika. She's Adyantiki Adhika. She's the topmost. Adyantiki means the very topmost, and no one is even close to her. That's Adyantiki. And relatively great, but not anywhere near the same place, is Apekshika Adhika. So these two terminologies, Adyantika Adhika and Apekshika Adhika. And Radharani is Adyantiki Adhika Madhya. She's between the stages of Pragalbda, which is somewhat harsh or bold, and Mridvi, which is soft. So this Madhya is in between the two. So that's Radhika. If we remember just the one of Radhika, that's sufficient. Just to start like a stepping stone, so to speak. We're building blocks here to try and piece all the descriptions of the vocabulary principally to begin with, so we don't become bewildered by it, so it doesn't make us walk away from the topic, but if we know some aspects of it, it'll give us the confidence to remain in the topic. And then this Apekshiki is secondary to Adyantiki. Adyantiki is first, Apekshiki is second. So this, and I was explaining also that Adyantiki is a description of Radhika, but it also can be used for a description of the Yuteshwaris, the leaders of the Utes. They are also great in their own space, in their own places with their own Utes. So the Sakhis headed by Lalita in Sri Radha's Ute are in the category of Apekshika Adhika Prakara. This is Lalita Devi, Prakara, somewhat harsh or bold. Bold is a better word perhaps. But she has that mood. Don't think it's anything to do with material at all. It's like when we read the Vyabhachari Bhavs, it seems like very almost depressive from a material point of view. But from the spiritual point of view, they're most sublime emotions that will melt the heart and cause great rasa to rise on the lake of these Stai Bhav, these Vyabhachari Bhavs. So the Sakhis headed by Vishaka in the same group are in the Apekshika, that means not as great as that Yantika, the Apekshika Adhika Madhya. Vishaka is the same as Krishna, as Radha. And Sakhis such as Chitra and Madhuri are Apekshika Adhika Mridvi. They're very soft. Now this is the sentence that I read this morning, and I realized that we didn't stop on it. In comparison to Srimati Radhika, the Asta Sakhis headed by Sri Lalita are Apekshika Lagu, relatively unimportant. So this highlights this term Lagu, which we come across in many descriptions here now, this Lagu. And it's relative, it means relatively unimportant, but relatively is a very important word. So what I've understood from reading this morning, Sri Lalita, the Asta Sakhis headed by Sri Lalita are Apekshika Lagu. They're relatively unimportant to Sri Radhika. Radhika is at Yantiki Adhika. She is in her own realm. So I understood that this word Lagu can be referencing a particular individual, like an adjective, so to speak, a descriptive adjective describing, or it can be like a collective noun, a group. So lagu can have two meanings depending on what the reference is. It can be actually referring to one gopi as lagu, or it can be talking about many gopis, like a descriptive, a collective noun. So just that appreciation I thought was very important to understand, because then we need to get every subtlety of these descriptions, and then we can feel more confident and comfortable with the whole topic. So I'm going to read these pages again that I read yesterday to catch up to where we were, because the more times we hear this, the more understanding or appreciation we'll have of it. So Vijay is saying, how many types of apekshiki lagu prakara sakhis are there? So we know what apekshika lagu prakara sakhis there are. These are those under Lalita Devi. Goswami, there are two sorts of lagu prakara sakhi, left wing, vamya, and right wing, dakshin. Vijay, what are the symptoms of vamya? Goswami, they are always eager to accept honor, and they become angry when there is any laxity in offering them respect. They are not at all easily controlled by their nayak. Such nayakas are called vamya. In Radhika's youth, Sakhis such as Lalita are called vamya prakara. So this creates, just by hearing about it and understanding, a speciality in the taste of Krishna's pleasure by relishing this mood. Vijay, please describe the symptoms of dakshin. Goswami, the nayaka who does not have man, who is frank and expresses herself openly, and who becomes submissive to the sweet words of the nayak, is called dakshin. This is like Chandravali. Chandravali can't really go into man because she doesn't have the confidence that Krishna will actually come and break it. Because she knows in her heart absolutely that Krishna is more inclined to Sri Radhika. She knows that she is secondary to Radhika. But still, it's a symptom of her immense prem, that even though she knows that, her prem doesn't diminish for Krishna at all. Her prem is very high. But she also doesn't have the, she can't go into man for more than a few moments, because she's not confident Krishna will come. Whereas with Radhika, Radhika knows that Krishna will become mad unless he breaks her man. So Radhika can confidently go into man. So, but Chandravali can't. So this is the Dakshin Bhav. In Srimati Radhika's youth, Sakhis such as Tungavidya are called Dakshin Prakar. So this is Tungavidya. Vijay, who are the Adyantika Lagu? So Adyantika means topmost, even though it's referencing a Lagu, which is somewhat inferior. But still, who are the topmost of that inferior group? Goswami, Sakhis such as Kusumika can be called Adyantika Lagus because they are gentle in all respects and they are insignificant in comparison with the other Sakhis. The insignificance is termed by the word Lagu. Vijay, what are the Sakhis' activities when they act as messengers, duties? Goswami, when the Sakhis act as duties, it is their duty to arrange a meeting, avisar, in order to unite the Nayak and the Nayika. They are staying at who are staying at a distance from each other. Vijay, can the Sakhis' girlfriends be Nayikas? Goswami, the Yuteshwaris are eternally Nayikas. Of course, the Yuteshwaris are Nayikas. The Apekshika Adhika Prakar, Apekshika Adhika Madhya, and Apekshika Adhika Mritvi Sakhis, those are the three distinct groups, have the intrinsic nature of both Nayak and Sakhi. So Nayika means the heroine, as well as being the Sakhi in the group. They are Nayikas in relation to those who are Lagu, in comparison, somewhat inferior, and Sakhis in relation to those who are Adhika, in comparison. Adhika, that means great. So they can be called almost heroines. Naika Praya. Apekshika Sama Prakara, Madhya and Mridvi are known as Dvisama. That is, they are Sakhis to those who are Adhika, and Nayak to those who are Lagu. So this distinction between the Adhika and the Lagu. The Adhika is the leader, and the Lagu is that one in the lower position. Those who are in the category of Apekshika Lagu, Prakar, Madhya and Mridvi are mainly Sakhis. Atyantiki Lagu Gopis are Uteshwaris. So even though they're Lagu, even though they're somewhat shy and gentle, they've still got the term Atyantiki. They're still great. Atyantiki is there. Are Uteshwaris. And according to the calculation of the three types of Sakhis that I mentioned before, they are in the fifth category. They are Nitya Sakhis in relation to the Uteshwari. Apekshika Sakhis are Sakhis and Dutis, not Nayikas. For the Atyantiki Lagu, Nitya Sakhi, all are Nayikas, not Dutis. So we're describing the Dutis now. So Vijay, who are the Dutis among the Sakhis? Goswami, Uteshwaris are eternally Nayikas. They do not act primarily as duties because they are the object of respect of all the others. So the duty takes a lower position, a lower role, the messenger. The Uteshwari engages the Sakhi who is dearest to her in her group as a duty. Sometimes the Uteshwari also performs activities of a duty in a secondary capacity for her Sakhi because of that Sakhi's intimate love, pranaya, for her. So I'll say that again. Sometimes the Uteshwari also performs the activity of a duty. So sometimes the leader will become the messenger because, activity of a duty in a secondary capacity for her Sakhi because her Sakhi's intimate love for her. Because the whole dynamic ultimately is about their relationship of affection for each other and for the object principally of their seva, who is Krishna. All the activities of a duty, except for coming and going to distant places, are secondary. They are divided into activities performed right before Krishna's eyes and activities performed in his absence. Vijay, how many types of messages are sent in Krishna's presence? Goswami, these messages are of two kinds: messages in the form of hints or signals, sanketika, and verbal messages, vachika. Vijay, what are sanketika? Goswami, sending a Sakhi to Krishna by a sidelong glance, a wink, a movement of the eyebrows, or other gestures is called sanketika, communication, in the form of a hint or a signal. We described the other day in another place how the signaling of the eyes was very prominent. The eye messages amongst the gopis and the manifestation of their moods on their bodies are what they read from each other. So these can only be in the absolute truthful dimension, so to speak. There can be no hiding behind or pretense of this. So this is the appreciation of the closeness that they have with each other. What are the messages carried in Krishna's absence? Paroksha. Oh, I didn't say that. Vachika. Goswami, Vachika messages are those that are communicated by the Sakhis conversing amongst themselves in front of Krishna or behind him. We can imagine them joking and indicating something. So in Ujjwal and Lamani, there's many examples of these directly, and we can get a greater understanding, comprehension. This is just a sketch of the whole topic actually here. Vijay, what are the messages carried in Krishna's absence? Paroksh. Goswami, Paroksha means that one Sakhi is offered or sent to Krishna by another. Vijay, what are the communications that the Nayak Praya perform? Goswami, when three types of Sakhis, Apekshika, Adhika, Prakar, Madhya and Ritvi, perform the activities of a duty, four Sakhis who are lagu in comparison to themselves. Here lagu is like an adjective, it's not like a noun, a lagu. Those communications are called the activities of Naika Praya. Among these, the Samar and Madhya Sakhis have an especially sweet and intimate companionship in which they feel no mutual differences. Only specialists in prem can understand this. So these are all very esoteric topics. We're just hearing them from the Jaiva Dharma to create some type of sanskar or platform to move. We don't know where Krishna will take us, but according to our greed and enthusiasm in this area, Krishna will guide us and Guru will guide us from within into this realm of Braj Leela, Braj Ras. What do the Sakhi Praya do when they carry messages? Goswami, Lagu Prakara, Lagu Madhya and Lagu Midri mainly perform the activities of duties. So these Lagu are somewhat shy, more gentle. Therefore, their communication of messages is called the activity of Sakhi Praya. Vijay, then what is a Nitya Sakhi? Goswami, Nitya Sakhis are those who only want to be Sakhis and not Nayikas. Actually, the Nitya Sakhis and the Pran Sakhis are the Manjaris. And they don't want to be the heroines, ever. They just want to serve their Yuteshwari, Sri Radhika. There are two types of Nitya Sakhis, Atyantiki Lagu, less significant, and Apekshiki Lagu, relatively unimportant. So again, we have Atyantiki and we have Apekshiki. These are the two words I explained in the beginning yesterday. Vijay. If a Sakhi has a particular swabhav, such as prakara, is that her permanent mode of behavior? Goswami, it may be a Sakhi's natural disposition, but she may also exhibit other types of behavior according to time and circumstance. Lalita's diligent efforts to break Radhika's man are an example of this. In other words, sometimes, or most of the time, Lalita Sakhi is encouraging Radha's man. But sometimes when Radha is in a very stubborn man, this Grita Sneha and Madhu Sneha, in this stubborn man, that even though Krishna is offering his peacock feather, his flute at her feet, still she's not relenting. So then Lalita Sakhi, she may flip, so to speak, and then she starts to encourage Radhika to give up her man. So this is when the behavior according to time and circumstance. This is what this is saying here. It may be a Sakhi's natural disposition, this prakara. It's Lalita Sakhi's natural disposition. But she may also exhibit other types of behavior according to time and circumstance. Lalita's diligent efforts to break Radhika's man, are an example of this. Vijay, it seems that the Sakhis always meet with Krishna through Sri Radhika's careful arrangement. Goswami, there is an esoteric mystery in this. When a Sakhi meets with Krishna in a solitary place, while she is acting as a duty, even if Krishna fervently requests her to enjoy with him, she will not agree to his proposition. If she were to agree, then her Priya Sakhi's confidence in her as a duty would be lost. So that's very explanatory. Vijay, what are the activities of the Sakhis? Goswami. The Sakhis perform 16 types of activities. 1. Describing the virtues of the Nayika to the Nayak and vice versa. This is their job, to encourage the Nayak and the Nayika. Actually, Radha and Krishna, they can't meet without the support and intervention of the Sakhis and the Sakhas also. Madhumangal and Subal, etc. They also help to arrange the meetings between Radha and Krishna. Radha and Krishna, their moods are so extreme in their hearts that it bewilders them how to actually connect with each other. And it's the Sakhis who guide them to that. And also Punamasi and Vrindadevi and Nandimukhi, they also all assist in bringing the divine couple together. So this is the duty of the Sakhis, to perform this activity, describing the virtues of the Nayak and the Nayika and vice versa. Because right at the very beginning, in Vidagdha Madha, for example, it's described how Srimati Radhika is not even confident of Krishna's love. Even later on, she's not always confident of Krishna's love. Just like Mother Yashoda, she's not confident of her own motherhood many times. She's thinking, how could I be blessed with such a child like this? I'm undeserving of having such a beautiful child. So Radhika, in her humility, she sometimes feels that perhaps Krishna will just go and enjoy with other gopis and neglect her. So she also has this hesitation sometimes. So this is why it's so important for the Nayika and the Nayak to describe the virtues to each of them. 2. Increasing their mutual attachment. 3. Arranging their rendezvous. 4. Bringing one Sakhi and offering her to Krishna. 5. Making jokes. 6. Giving consolation. 7. Dressing and decorating. 8. Expertly expressing the heartfelt sentiments of the Nayak before the Nayika, and vice versa. They're the intermediaries in the relationship. 9. Expertly hiding their faults and blunders. 10. Giving instructions on how to cheat the husband or other relatives. 11. Arranging for the Nayak and Nayika to meet at the appropriate time. 12. Rendering the service of fanning with a chamara. 13. Reproaching and disregarding the Nayak and Nayika under special circumstances. 14. Sending messages. 15. Protecting the pran of the Nayika. And 16. Exercising extreme care and diligence in all matters. So in Ujjvala Nilamani, again, all of these are given with different examples all the way through. So this would make it very lengthy to begin to give these examples here, but this is not the purpose of what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is doing here. He's just giving a summary indication of the Ujjvala Nilamani. These are astounding examples of all their activities. Vijay Prabhu, I have understood the idea, and I will look at the examples in Sri Ujjvala Nilamani. This is what I'm saying. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is reminding us that to get a deeper appreciation, if we're actually sincerely interested in this topic, we will carefully read through this Ujjvala Nilamani. And as I say, we only seem to have, in English, to my knowledge, one Bhanu Swami translation, but which is limited in a sense, but it's okay. But we're waiting for my Gurudev's English version to come out. It's out in Hindi already, but not in English. Now I have understood a great deal, and I want to know about the resolute prema that the Sakhis have for Krishna and for each other. Beautiful question. Goswami, there are two kinds of Swapaksha Sakhis. Swapaksha, are they friendly? Those who have affection for Krishna is the same as their affection for their Yuteshwari are Sama Sneha. I'll read it again. Those whose affection for Krishna is the same as their affection for the Yuteshwari are Sama Sneha. So the affection for Radha and Krishna is the same. Sama means equal, Sneha means affection. And those whose affection for Krishna and their Yuteshwari are not equal, asama sneha. So some gopis like Dhanista Sakhi, her affection, and Kundalata is towards Krishna more than Radhika. Other gopis, their affection towards Radhika is greater, Lalita, Vishakha, etc. Goswami, there are two types of asama sneha Sakhis. Oh no, Vijay. Who are the Sakhis who have asama sneha? This not equal. Goswami, there are two types of asama sneha Sakhis. Some have more affection for the Yuteshwari than for Krishna, while other Sakhis think, I am the maidservant of Hari. They do not mix with other groups, and they have complete affection for their Yuteshwari, but they have still more affection for Krishna. Alternatively, those Sakhis who think, I am the maidservant of my Sakhi, and who have more affection for their Sakhi than for Krishna, are called Sakhi Sneha Adhika. So these are other brilliant terminologies to appreciate. Sakhi Sneha Adhika. Vijay, who are they? Goswami, among the 5 types of Sakhis, those who have more affection for Krishna, Krishna Sneha Adhika, Adhika means topmost, Krishna Sneha affection, are simply called Sakhi. The Pran Sakhis and the Nitya Sakhis are both Sakhi Sneha Adhika. The Pran and the Nitya, they are the Manjaris. For they have more affection for their Sakhi. Their Sakhi is Sri Radhika. Vijay, who are the Sama Sneha Sakhis? Goswami, those who have equal affection for both Krishna and their Yuteshwari are Sama Sneha. Vijay, who are the best among all the Sakhis? Goswami, the best of all those who consider themselves Sri Radha's nearest and dearest, Nijajana, although they love both Sri Radhika, Srimati Radhika, and Krishna equally, are called Priya Sakhis and Parama Preshta Sakhis. These are the Asta Sakhis. Vijay, Prabhu, please explain the divisions between Swapaksh and Pratipaksh. This Pratipaksh is another term for Vipaksh. Pratipaksh and Vipaksh are the same. Pratipaksh is Chandravali's group. So Goswami, all the Brajasundaris are divided into 4 categories: Swapaksh, Suritpaksh, Tatasta, and Pratipaksh. That Pratipaksh is synonymous with Vipaksh. The Suritpaksh and Tatasta are incidental. It is the distinction between the Swapaksh and the Pratipaksh that gives rise to rasa. They're incidental because the Surit and the Tatasta, they are between the 2 camps. The Surit supports Radhika and the Tatasta is more supportive of Chandravali. So these are the intermediary groups. Vijay, please describe the Swapaksh and Pratipaksh in detail. Goswami, I have already explained almost everything in relation to Swapaksh. Now I will explain the different groups, such as Surit Paksh. The Surit Paksh are divided into 2 categories, namely Ishta Sadhika and Anishta Sadhika, those who accomplish the desirable and undesirable respectively. Those who are friendly towards a rival party are called Tatashta. This is Bhadra, etc. Vijay, now please tell me about Vipaksh. So Vipaksh are the Pratipaksh. Goswami, the Vipaksh rival party are those who are inimical and who perform antagonistic activities such as destroying what is desirable and promoting what is undesirable. That's desirable for Radha and Krishna's meeting, and confusing what is desirable or creating what is undesirable for Radha and Krishna's meeting. These Vipaksh Sakhis exist a host of moods, including trickery, spite, restlessness, jealousy, hostility, grief, and pride. Vijay, how do they manifest pride? Goswami, pride is expressed in 6 ways: egotism, ahankar; abhiman, ostentatiousness; darpa, smugness; udasita, arrogance; mada, conceit; odahatya, haughtiness. Vijay, what does ahankar, egotism, mean in this context? So we were describing this, the etymology of this. Ahankara is the conception of being the doer. Aham kara. This word ahan is coming, meaning I, and kara means to do. So this is the false ego. Goswami, ahankara involves criticizing another group, paksha, while glorifying the virtues of one's own group. Of course, everything in the spiritual world is being reflected into this world. The perverted reflection is coming to this world. So all of the origins of everything, the original is in the spiritual world. So the egoism of being a particular group member and naturally against the other party. It's like you have the opposition party and you have the ruling party, so to speak. So the swapaksh are like the ruling party, but then you have to have the opposition to create the waves. If there's no opposition, then the stimulant to increase the rasa is not going to be there. It's only when the opposition party are there to inflame and inspire it more and more. So Goswami, ahankara involves criticizing another group, paksha, while glorifying the virtues of one's own group. Vijay, what is the purport of abhiman here? Goswami, using expressive moods and postures to show the superiority of one's own party's prem is called abhiman, ostentatiousness. So this is the delight of Braj, is that they have these qualities amongst themselves, and it's a rivalry, a transcendental rivalry, which enhances the atmosphere. It brings it to a higher pitch of sweetness. If it was in the material world, it would be propelled by envy. But there's no envy in the spiritual world at all. It's all for ultimately the pleasure of Krishna. So it's all very beautifully balanced and utilized. These qualities are utilized for the glorification of Krishna. And Krishna has to deal with all of this, which is remarkable. In the Ujjvala Yamani we see how he deals with it. Goswami, yes. Vijay, what is darpa? Goswami, darpa, smugness, is the pride that indicates the superiority of one's enjoyment of pastimes. Vijay, what is udasita? Arrogance. Goswami, udasita is directly laughing at the rival's party. Vijay, what is mada? Goswami, in this context, mada, conceit, is the pride that enhances the excellence of seva and so on. So there's the example of arrogance when Saiba, who is the Sakhi of Chandravali, she's saying to one of Radhika's party, Lalita, oh, when my Sakhi, Chandravali, sees Krishna, she practically faints. So Lalita, she retorts, when my Sakhi sees the tip of Krishna's toenail, she practically faints. In other words, it's a rivalry of who has the most prem. And with this rivalry, the prem is going to increase in both parties. This is the purpose of it. We can't even understand. This is why these topics are so confidential here in the material world, because we have no affinity, we have no experience of these qualities in this world. Everything in this world is motivated by our false egoism and our material pride and our material envy. So we have no appreciation deeply for that non-envious place in the spiritual world. Within the spiritual reality, all of these exchanges are absolutely divine and the sweetest exchanges conceivable. We have to pray for that appreciation. Vijay, what is Mada? In this context, Mada conceit is the pride that enhances the excellence of seva and so on. So they take pride in their various sevas in competition with one another. Vijay, what is Odahatya? Goswami, Odahatya, haughtiness, is openly declaring one's own superiority. The Sakhis' double-edged taunting and depreciation of others are examples of this kind of garva. Garva means like pride. Vijay, do the Yuteshwaris also directly exhibit jealousy? Goswami, no. The Yuteshwaris are very grave, and they do not directly manifest spite towards the rival party. Besides, even a Sakhi who is prakara will not speak about trivial things in the presence of Vipaksh Yuteshwaris. So they don't bring themselves to that state. It's only the Lagu, or the more inferior Sakhis, who will speak these things to create that competition mood. It's all about the competition. When it's like the love between Radha and Krishna is directly competitive also, in the sense that Radha's love, as it increases towards Krishna, Krishna reciprocates with that love. And then as Krishna's love reciprocates to Radhika, then Radha's love will increase. Then as Radhika is seeing the increasing affection of Krishna, then her love will. And it's like a reciprocal exchange like this, but it's all on the platform of love and affection, totally, totally. Nothing else exists there. Prabhu, the Yuteshwaris in Brajalila are eternally...
The first part, do the Yuteshwaris also directly exhibit jealousy?
No. Goswami, no. The Yuteshwaris are very grave, and they do not directly manifest spite towards the rival party. I read this. Besides, even a Sakhi who is prakara will not speak about trivial things in the presence of Vipaksh Yuteshwaris. Yes, I read that. It's good to read this 100 times though. Vijay, Prabhu, the Yuteshwaris in Brajlila are eternally perfect Sakhis of Bhagavan. What is the significance of the existence of barbs such as mutual enmity? Now he's asking the question that we've just talked about a little bit. When the worldly logicians and empiricists who are averse to Krishna see all this, they disrespect the transcendental principle of Brajalila and ridicule it. They say that if there is malice and so on in the Paramatattva, then why condemn enmity in the activities of this material world? Do you understand? If someone, a logician, is expressing distaste for these types of descriptions between the rival parties, thinking that is envious, they may condemn it. And now Babaji is going to answer this question. They say that if there is malice and so on in the Paramatattva, then why condemn enmity in the activities of this material world? What is the point of celebrating such activities? He's saying, what is the point of celebrating these rivalry type of activities in the spiritual world? When conditioned souls are going to hear about these rivalry type of activities, they're not going to understand them, because we have no experience of living in a world without envy. We only have experience of this envious environment. We reside in Sridham Navadvip, where by Sri Krishna Chaitanya Dev's will, one can find all kinds of materialistic people. Some are staunch followers of Kamakand, and most of them offenders who find faults in Krishna's pastimes. They disregard this unique transcendental Leela, thinking that it is a product of Maya. Kindly be merciful to me and clarify this subject so that my heart can be steadfast in the face of such remarks. So I'm going to stop it on this very beautiful question here, and because the answer is very significant to appreciate, and we'll carry on from this point tomorrow. But you understand the question. He's questioning what I've just explained. Someone is criticizing basically these this rivalry and the politics basically within the spiritual world. Why are they there? Why is this smugness there? Why is this arrogance there? Why is this conceit there? But it's like saying the Vyabhachari Bhavs also have these same moods as well. But when they're all fully spiritual, then they are perfect. So we'll discuss this further tomorrow. And I think tomorrow we'll probably complete this chapter in Radhakund. Okay, Shri Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Ananta Koda Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Now we've come to our subject for today, our chapter 34, and we're on page 706, and we're going through the different activities of the rival party. We've been speaking about the Vipaksh and going through the different emotions and qualities that are expressed in different ways by the Vikash Paksh. And I'll just continue reading from the top of page 706 and it's clear?
Sufficient but less clear.
Okay. So we're going to start reading on the page, top of page 706. So what is the purport of Abhiman here? Abhiman means identity. So Goswami, using expressive moods and postures to show the superiority of one's own party's prem is called Abhiman, ostentatiousness. So we gave some examples yesterday, how the different Sakhis in their different groups, they will be supporting their Yuteshwari, either Shri Radhika or Chandravali. And this will create the dynamic of rivalry, which leads to a competitive mood in their prem. And this is most welcomed in Braj. And I was explaining yesterday how there's not a drop, even a smell of envy. Because if we see this type of dynamic in the material world, it's usually backed by an envious mentality. Competition is usually having envy behind it. But in the spiritual world, it's all ultimately only for the Lord's pleasure. So all of this is being orchestrated by Purnamasi Devi and Brinda Devi for the pleasure of Krishna. So the Vipaksh party, they are completely for the pleasure of Krishna. Without Chandravali, how can Radhika express her man? Her man won't manifest if Chandravali's party is not there. So Chandravali herself cannot go into man. We explained this yesterday, because Krishna's love is not so strong, and Chandravali knows that. If Chandravali goes into man, perhaps she will stay there for a long time and no, Krishna won't come. So we understand like this. Vijay, what is Darpa? Goswami, Darpa, smugness, is the pride that indicates the superiority of one's enjoyment of pastimes. Vijay, what is Udasita, arrogance? Goswami, Udasita is directly laughing at the rival party. Vijay, what is Mada? Goswami, in the context Mada, conceit is the pride that enhances the excellence of seva and so on. So conceit is there. Vijay, what is Odhatya? Goswami, Odhatya, haughtiness, is openly declaring one's own superiority. The Sakhis' double-edged taunting and depreciation of others are examples of this kind of garva. So this mood is there. All of these we have in the material realm, but as I say, they're all backed by envy, whereas the contrast in the spiritual world is that there's no envy, and we can't even imagine this. The conditioned soul, all we can simply do is hear these descriptions and pray for the mercy of Guru and Vaishnavas to understand something, or to have some awareness of this. Vijay, do the Yuteshwaris also directly exhibit jealousy? So the Yuteshwaris, that's Radha and Chandravali in this case. Goswami, no. The Yuteshwaris are very grave, and they do not directly manifest spite towards the rival party. Besides, even a Sakhi who is prakara will not speak about trivial things in the presence of Vipaksh Yuteshwaris. So they're very grave, the Yuteshwaris. Vijay, Prabhu, the Yuteshwaris in Braj Leela are eternally perfect, Sakhis of Bhagavan. What is the significance of the existence of barbs such as their mutual enmity? When the worldly logicians and empiricists who are averse to Krishna see all this, they disrespect the transcendental principle of Braj Leela and ridicule it. So we read this yesterday. We read this through. This is the build-up to the answer that Goswami is going to give. So people will criticize this because they will be seeing through the eyes of envy, like a logician or an empiricist. They will be seeing through this lens of envy. So obviously they will condemn these pastimes and leelas. They say that if there is malice and so on in the Paramatattva, then why condemn enmity in the activities of this material world? So if there are these conflicts in the spiritual world, why should we be depreciating these conflicts in the material world? Understand? What is the point of celebrating such activities? We reside in Sridham Navadvip, where by Krishna Chaitanya Dev's will, one can find all kinds of materialistic people. Some are staunch followers of Karmakant, and most of them are offenders who find fault in Krishna's pastimes. They disregard this unique transcendental Leela, thinking that it is a product of Maya. Kindly be merciful to me and clarify this subject, so that my heart can be steadfast in the face of such remarks. So this is the place actually we reached yesterday. We're going to answer this question now. Goswami. Only those who are completely bereft of rasa say that it is improper for the dear bhaktas of Hari to express sentiments such as hostility. I'll read that again just to be clear. Only those who are completely bereft of ras say that it is improper for the dear bhaktas of Hari to express sentiments such as hostility. If we reflect deeply in this matter, we find that Krishna destroys sins and also enchants millions of Kamadevs. His Priya Nam Sakha, Sringara Ras himself, reigns splendidly, fully manifest in Braj. It is this Ras alone who, in order to satisfy Krishna, incites jealousy and all its related sentiments among the rival groups, egotism. So Krishna's Sringara Ras itself is inciting these moods to enhance the Ras. Because when we read, for example, about the Sanchari bhavs, the Vyabhachari bhavs, they seem to be very negative in a sense, if we look at them from the material point. But from the spiritual point of view, they're most relishable. However, in reality, there is no jealousy between them, because they all want Krishna's pleasure. All the different camps of gopis, they all want Krishna's pleasure. Their apparently inimical moods are nothing but a transformation of affection. So it's very hard to understand sometimes when we read about the different pastimes between Chandravali and Radhika, how sometimes it seems very negative towards each other. But actually this is all inspired by Krishna's Leela Shakti to increase the competitive mood between the Sakhis, which will increase the prem of the gopis themselves. Vijay, Prabhu, I am an insignificant creature, and such esoteric subjects do not arise within my heart easily. Please bestow your grace upon me by explaining this matter so explicitly that I may easily understand it and become blessed. So it's not an easy subject to understand. So Vijay is asking that it be discussed again. Oh, is that water coming in? Big rain here. Very nice. Goswami. This is the rain of Prem. Prem Amlita. What's that? Prem shower. Huh? Prem Varsha, yes, is another word also. I think of it. Goswami. Prem Ras is like the ocean of milk, which becomes unpalatable when it is mixed with the cow urine of logic and arguments. So this logic and argument is when someone is trying to analyze from a material point of view the activities of the Brajaramanis in their various rivalry groups, because we've been discussing the different groups, the Svapaksh and the Vipaksh, and the Surit and the Tatashta, and what are the dynamics between them. So from the material point of view, from the logical point of view, it appears like a negative quality. This is what's been explained. If it's mixed with the cow urine of logic and arguments, it is not appropriate to apply philosophical considerations of tattva in the context of prem ras. Prem ras is achintya, inconceivable, chamatkar. It's astonishing, astounding. It can't be logically approached. If we're trying to, that's why Vaidhi Bhakti is a separate path. Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga are separate paths. The Vaidhi Marg, you can hold your logic and rationale. But on the path of the spontaneous mood of Rag Marg, then it's not possible. On the one hand, Bhakti Devi bestows the illumination of Chit and Hladini in the hearts of the sadhaks who have accumulated a vast amount of Sukriti, so that they can realize the essence of all Siddhanta without the assistance of any logic at all. You have to actually be very brave, in a sense, to go into the kingdom of Ras, because there's no material support that we might have built through our lives in the realm of logic or reason. You might be very intelligent materially, but that has no strength in the world of Ras. On the other hand, these inconceivable conclusions do not awaken at all in the hearts of those who want to comprehend Siddhanta through mundane logic, argument, and worldly scholarship. The application of false and misguided logic, kutarka, only gives rise to more kutarka. However, you are an extremely fortunate jiva. By Bhakti Devi's mercy, you have already understood everything, but you are still inquiring from me for the sake of fortifying your understanding of Siddhanta. I will certainly inform you of these principles. You are not a logician or a follower of karma kand or gyan kand, and neither are you excessively devoted to Vaidhi bhakti or self-restraint through rules and regulations. There is no objection to my telling you about any siddhanta, so therefore the sadhak should not be overly rejecting Vaidhi bhakti. We understand what are the rules and regulations, and we have to apply them in our external life, but we're not overly attached to them. That's not the principal focus. Our principal focus is to utilize our understanding to enter into Vrindavan fully, enter into that realm of Radha and Krishna. And their prem. There are two types of inquisitive people. One makes inquiries after having taken shelter of dry logic, whereas the other, who has confidence in the existence of bhakti, can be satisfied by its svata siddhi, self-evident ideals. You should never reply to the questions of dry logicians, because they will never have faith in genuine explanations of the truth. Their power of reason is confined to the realm of Maya, so they are lame in relation to the achintya bhavs. Without this achintya bhav, then nothing will transpire. Their intelligence cannot even begin to enter the achintya subject matter, no matter how strenuously they agitate their minds. Ultimately, mental speculation only diminishes whatever feeble trace of conviction one has in Ishvara. Those who accept the party of Bhakti Paksh, the devotional viewpoint, are divided into many types according to their eligibility, even amongst those who have attained a Sadguru. Only those who have achieved the Adhikar or Sringara Ras can understand this confidential tattva. So that was a very incredible explanation there. Actually, will have to be read many times to appreciate it deeply. But there is no room in the spiritual approach for logic or reasoning, because it's completely achintya. This is why I'm constantly saying to try to appreciate these topics, not to understand them. To understand means my mind has to be satisfied, but the mind is not familiar with so many of the topics, so the mind is going to be confused or not satisfied. So if there is enthusiasm and if there is patience, then Krishna will benedict the consciousness to appreciate these topics, simply to appreciate, and slowly, gradually in time, they will manifest their full blossoming beauty within the consciousness, 100%. Vijay, what an unprecedented rasa this Brajalila is. It appears to be the same principle as the mundane Sringara ras of this world, but actually it is completely the opposite. It has been stated in the Rasa Panchadiya, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33. Actually, this is a mistake here. There's only 39 verses in this chapter, so we have to make a correction. It's verse 39. It's referring to the word Vikriditam, the verse Vikriditam Brajavaduvi Itam Cha Vishnu, Shadan Vishnu, Nushunyat Artha Varanyanya, Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Prati Labhya Karmam, Hridrogam Masav Apinoti Acharena Tira. This is the last verse in the Rasa Panchadiya, when Shukadev is explaining to Parikshit how one must hear these topics. And just simply by hearing these topics, then bhakti will arise in the heart. That the heart disease of those who study this lila is vanquished, this hitrogam, this bhakti will arise. What is the heart disease of the conditioned soul? Material lust. This lust naturally arises in those who identify themselves with male or female body with a male or female body composed of 7 dhatus, such as flesh and blood, and who take shelter of the subtle body by accepting an identity consisting of desires pertaining to the mind. So if our minds are preoccupied in material activities and we're relating to the gross material body, then we're going to be subjected to the attraction of the material energy to enjoy it in one form or another, grossly attracted or subtly attracted. So this is all in the realm of lust. So if lust is there, then this is the disease that we're trying to purify. Subtle body by accepting an identity consisting of desires pertaining to the mind, intelligence, and false ego. Nothing has the power to remove this lust easily. It can only be dispelled by continuous cultivation of endeavors and moods in pursuit of Braj Leela. So only by hearing about these pastimes of Radha and Krishna, this is what this verse is saying, Vikriti tam brajavadubi itam ja Vishnu, that one must hear these pastimes, and then that will eradicate this hridroga, this disease of the heart, which is lust. That disease was there from the very beginning. We were attracted to becoming the enjoyers in this world. So this whole consciousness has to be turned around to be inspired towards the spiritual realm. So Sadguru is that person who will inspire our hearts towards that realm. Because we have to be absolutely confident of the reality of this realm. It's that confidence that Sadguru can give us. If we don't have that pure Guru who has that confidence in the spiritual reality, you can never get that confidence yourself. You understand? Many times I'm speaking different things to devotees who I know haven't had the association of a pure devotee, and they don't actually believe the words are really true at heart. It's like trying to tell someone about a ghost who's never seen a ghost. But someone who's seen a ghost knows that a ghost exists, and they will tell you about the ghostly world, etc., because they have seen it. But someone who is just reading it and doesn't understand it, then they can't get the full appreciation of it. So just hearing these topics, but if we haven't been fortunate to have been with a Sadguru who can give these topics into the heart, then our confidence won't be so strong. We won't really believe it. It'll just be like words on the page, not a reality. I can remember so many years ago reading about these topics and just thinking, oh, that is somewhere else. I can't even approach that. But then gradually through time and practice, then we start to develop some familiarity with the topics and an enthusiasm for the topics. This is the principal ingredient, this enthusiasm for the topic, this greed. If some greed is there to understand these things, then they will be understood ultimately. Intelligence, desires pertaining to the mind, intelligence, and false ego. Nothing has the power to remove this lust easily. It can only be dispelled by the continuous cultivation of endeavors and moods in pursuit of Braj Leela. In this Siddhanta, you will see the miraculous feature of the Sringara Ras of Vrindavan Leela. You will also realize that although Nirvishesh Brahm is characterized by self-satisfaction at Marama, this Aprakat Sringara Ras considers it quite insignificant and throws it very far away. We see that verse, what's that? Kleshagni Shubhada, Moksha Lukhuta Krit. That the symptom of liberation is to see or the symptom of bhav rather, is to see liberation as completely insignificant. Liberation is not our objective. Our objective isn't to be liberated. Our objective is to render this Nitya Seva to the Supreme Lord. That is our objective. Particularly Sri Radhika and her maidservants, her manjaris. That's all our line. All our line are manjaris. So to connect to these transcendental personalities in our Guru Varga is our ultimate goal, totally. Vrindavan Leela. You will also realize that although Nirvishesh Brahm is characterized by self-satisfaction at Marama, this Aprakat Shringara Ras considers it quite insignificant and throws it very far away, reigning splendidly for all time. Moreover, this Shringara Ras externally exists with a brilliance that fully and perfectly diminishes the value of the opulence of the transcendental Vaikuntha world in the spiritual sky. So this Shringara Ras ultimately is so much higher than Vaikuntha. It's so much higher than Mathura or Dwarka or any of these other realms. This world of affection and unlimited love for the Lord. And the Lord, as Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar, he is hungry for this love himself. And he is Mugdata. He is not knowing that he's the Supreme. And he's Sarvagyan. He knows he's the Supreme at the same time. So this mood of who is Brajendranandan? So this is what we're trying to appreciate more and more, coming into this Braj Leela. What is the nature? Who is this personality? What are the natures of all these relationships that we're hearing about? These splendid relationships. The glories of Shringara Ras are unsurpassed. There is Sandra Ananda, highly condensed bliss in this Ras. I've explained before this word, Sandra Ananda. It means that nothing else can enter except bliss. Sandra Ananda. Nothing else can get in except bliss. But there is no dry pleasure, Shuksh Ananda, no happiness derived from inert matter, Jad Anand, and not even limited happiness, Sankuchitanand. It is the embodiment of complete Anand, and in order to achieve the completion of rasa in this Purnanand, in many instances the unlimited varieties of bhav are inflicted with mutually opposite bhavs. So this is the topic that Goswami is explaining. Why are these opposite bhavs apparently there in the spiritual world? These mutually opposite bhavs. Because nothing can be omitted from the spiritual world. Krishna has a front side and Krishna has a back side. Krishna has everything. Everything is there. So all of these different emotions sometimes are inspired by the negative aspect of that emotion. It will inspire the positive emotion. However, the bhavs of the aprakrit ras are not base and full of defects like mundane emotions such as enmity. We can say envy also is another word. They are simply varieties of fascinating transformations of Paramananda. They surge up like waves which excite the ocean of rasa. So these 2 pages are very, very powerful to read again and again to appreciate more deeply. Sri Rupa Goswami's conclusion is that bhav is possessed of wonderful variegatedness. the various bhavs that are completely compatible with each other are in relation to swapaksh. Bhavs that are mostly compatible and only slightly incompatible are in relation to surit paksh. Now he's describing the 4 different categories of paksh. When the incompatible bhavs predominate and there are very few compatible bhavs, those bhavs are called tatashta. And when all the bhavs are completely incompatible, those groups of bhavs are in relation to vipaksh. Another point is that when these bhavs are incompatible, they are not usually pleasing. That is why they give rise to enmity and similar sentiments in this Paramananda Ras. So it's a very deep description of the reasons why there are these incompatible bhavs within the world of Vrindavan Leela to enhance the speciality of the swapaksh in contrast to the vipaksh. For example, Chandravali is tadatmika, she's dakshin. She is always compliant to whatever Krishna wants, whereas Sri Radhika is very much bhamya bhav, very much bold. So Krishna has a great relish from this. He also will relish something of that dakshin bhav. But when these 2 bhavs are present, it increases both of them. The dakshin bhav will be highlighted, will be more accentuated, and the bhamya bhav will be more accentuated. So again, it's these contrasting bhavs, incompatible bhavs, are simply highlighting the original bhavs. Everything is being beautifully increased by this competitive mood. Understand? Something. Vijay, what is the necessity for paksha and vipaksh bhavs? So, Goswami, when the bhavs of 2 nayakas are equal, the bhav rivalry occurs, and consequently the moods of friendship and hostility perform their activities as transformations of rasa. These are transformations of rasa because of this contrasting bhavs. Transformation of rasa. You should understand that this is also only to enrich the supreme sweetness of the Akhand Shringara Ras. So this is an explanation to try and understand why these contrasting bhavs are there. We have Radhika manifests all her Kaya Vyuha. That's all the billions of gopis. That's the Swapaksh, the Surit, the Tashta, and the Vipaksh. And they all have their different moods. And they're all contrasting with each other to enhance the Shringara Rasa ultimately. So when we view it from a distant perspective, we can see sometimes that seems to be negative, and sometimes this is positive. But if you're viewing it from a logician's point of view, which was what the question was about, that dry logicians, they will see these same, they will read about these same distinctions, and they will find fault in them, thinking that like they apply in this world, but they're missing the vital ingredient, which is the distinction of the spiritual world, which doesn't have a single particle or smell of envy or enmity. So this is not so easy for us to appreciate, but we can pray for that mercy to appreciate it. And then our Guru Varga will bless us. So what is the necessity for paksha and vipaksh bhavs? Oh, I've just read that, yes. Vijay, Srimati Radha and Chandravali equal from the point of view of Tattva? Goswami: no, no. Only Srimati Radhika, who is composed entirely of Mahabhav, is the essence of Pladini. Radhika is the source. Everything is emanating from Radhika. Chandravali is her Kaya Vyuha. Chandravali is her Kaya Vyuha, her bodily expansion, and is unlimitedly less qualified than Srimati Radhika, because she's coming from Sri Radhika. Nevertheless, in Shringara Ras, Chandravali has a mood of equality with Radha. She has to have that equality so that there can be rivalry. If there's no equality, then how can there really be rivalry? If one is very much inferior to the other, then there's no rivalry. Understand? So it appears many times that Chandravali is so beautiful, so amazing, etc. She's able to distract Krishna from coming to Radha. She has so much potency in that respect. But this is just to enhance the overall moods of the gopis and their relationships. Only Srimati Radhika, who is composed entirely of Mahabhav, is the essence of Pladini. Chandravali is her Kaya Vyuha, bodily expansion, and is unlimitedly less qualified than Srimati Radhika. Nevertheless, in Shringara Ras, Chandravali has a mood of equality with Radha, so that a rivalry emerges to nourish the Prem Ras. Again, consider this. The bhav of these two Yuteshwaris cannot be completely compatible. It wouldn't be possible. It's like even we see when Krishna is with Radhika, if the bhavs are the same, then there's no rasa. If Radhika is, for example, Swadhinat Bhartika, if she's the controlling heroine, then Krishna is Dakshin Bhav, he's submissive. If Krishna starts to be Dhir-Lalit and very controlling, then the rasa will finish. There must be this mood. This is what Rupa Goswami is explaining to us. He's trying to give us a picture of the emotional states of the gopis, the Braja gopis. These are their emotions. We hear so many different pastimes of the gopis, but this is expressly expressing the emotions between the gopis. Nevertheless, in Shringara Ras, Chandravali has a mood of equality with Radha, so that a rivalry emerges to nourish the Prem Ras. Again, consider this. The bhav of these two Yateshwaris cannot be completely compatible. If somehow or other it seems to be so, it is simply a coincidence. And it's such a coincidence that Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives us a very extreme example of this coincidence. Just as the shape eaten by a bookworm out of the pages of a book might accidentally resemble a letter of the alphabet. That's completely by accident. There's nothing preordained by that. So if these bhavs do appear to be compatible, it's completely by accident. Understand? So much extreme. Actually, the Swapaksh and Vipaksh bhavs of Ras occur naturally. This is their natural moods. Prabhu, you have dispelled whatever small doubts I had. Your sweet instructions have entered my heart through the path of my ears. They are destroying all my bitterness. I have fully understood Alamban, the object of the abode of rasa, in regard to the vibhav of Madhura-rasa. Satchidananda Krishna is the one and only Nayaka, and I am meditating upon his qualities, form and activities. He has the temperaments of Dhirodata, Dhirolalit, Dhirashantaha and Dhirodata, and he eternally performs his Leela as a Nayak in the roles of Pati and Upapati. As a lover, he is Anukul, faithful, Dakshin, sincere, Sata, cheating, Shata, cheating, and drista, reckless and bold. He is always served by friends who arrange his meetings, chetaka, dress him, vita, and make jokes, vidusaka, and by his masseurs, Pita Mardaka, and his most intimate friends, Priyanam Sakhis. He is fond of playing on the Vamsi. Today Krishna has appeared in my heart as the Vishaya of Ras. So really that last paragraph was like a summary of the understanding or appreciation that Vijay Kumar has had to this point. He's expressing his appreciation here. At the same time, I have also understood how the beautiful young women of Braj are the ashraya of Madhura-rasa. So we've gone from the Vishaya, Krishna, now the ashraya of Madhura-rasa. These gopis are nayikas. Nayikas are divided into two types, Swakiya and Parakiya. In Braj, the Parakiya nayikas are the ashraya of Shringara Ras, and they are of three types, Sadhana Para Devi and Nitya Priya. Sadhana Para, Devi and Nitya Priya. The attractive damsels of Braj divide into groups in which they serve Krishna, and millions of lovely Braja gopis are subordinate to one of the many Yuteshwaris. Among all the Yuteshwaris, Sri Radha and Sri Chandravali are prominent. In Sri Radha's Yut, there are 5 kinds of Sakhi, namely Sakhi, Nitya Sakhi, Pran Sakhi, Priya Sakhi, and Paramapresta Sakhi. Although the Paramapresta Sakhis, who are also known as Astasakhis, are qualified to be Yuteshwaris, they do not create separate Yuts because they desire to remain the followers of Sri Radha. The Sakhis under their guidance are collectively called their Gan, for instance Lalita Gan, Vishaka Gan, and so on. Nayikas are divided into 3 groups, Mukta, Madhya, and Pragalda. And of these, the Madhya and Pragalda are each divided into 3 further categories, Dhira, Adhira, and Dhira Dhira. So I think we should just finish this chapter. These 6 categories plus Mukta make 7 categories in all, which are divided into 2 types, Swakiya and Parakiya. To make 14 types in all. The category of unmarried Nayika, Kanya, is added to these 14 to make a total of 15 categories of Nayika. These 15 types of Nayika have the 8 avashta conditions or situations. No, I'm not. Okay. Thank you. Category of unmarried Nayika. These 15 types of Nayika have 8 avashta conditions or situations, beginning with abhisarika and so on. And all these categories are divided again into Uttam, Madhyam, and Kanishta to make a sum total of 360, which is 15 times 8 times 3 types of Nayika. The distinct types of behavior, Vyavaharik, of the Yuteshwaris, such as Surit, as well as their purposes, Tatparya, have awakened within my heart. I have also understood that the duties of the Sakhis and the messengers' duties. Now that I have learned all these topics, I have an understanding of the Ashraya Tattva of Ras. So this is the summary of the Ashraya. I have also understand Alamban Tattva, which is included within the subject of Vibhav. And tomorrow I will learn about Udipan. Krishna has shown me unlimited kindness by giving me the association of a Sadguru like yourself. I am taking my nourishment by drinking the liquid nectar flowing from your lotus mouth. Sri Gopal Guru Goswami embraced Vijay and said, "My dear son, I have also become successful by attaining a disciple like you. As you make more inquiries, Sri Nityananda Prabhu is personally replying to those questions through my mouth. Tears of praying began to cascade from his eyes of both Guru and Shishya. When the Mahatmas, such as Jnanachandra, witnessed Vijay's immense fortune, they became immersed in Paramananda. Just then, some Shuddha Vaishnavas arrived outside Radhakant Mat and began to sing some shlokas composed by Chandidas. So we'll sing these tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll begin our reading by chanting this beautiful prayer. But you can all read the prayer yourselves. So this is the, thank you. This is the end of this chapter. So this is a very powerful chapter and really needs to be, the feeling I have personally after hearing this chapter is I just want to read it again and again and again. That's how I feel. There are just so many, some of the truths I captured easily and other truths I really have to go into. So perhaps if you have similar feelings, if it's an inspiration to read again and again, then this will only be to our greater fortune and advantage. So this is an incredible chapter. And I love the way that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he summarizes at the end the complete chapter actually, what is the Vishaya Tattva and what is the Ashraya Tattva. And he encapsulates it very clearly. So many, many details, many incredible truths in this chapter. So we continue tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll sing this Sai Sakhi Kabe Sunalaya Shamanam. We'll sing tomorrow. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Ananta Koda Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Rasa Tattva ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Huh? I know, it's amazing, incredible. I'm just amazed at it. I just want to read it more slowly. But actually it's a kind of a solitary thing to read. When you're reading it publicly, it's different. If you're with a small group and studying it, then it's very accessible. We're reading it with a large group. But the idea is to get an idea, to make some structure, to make some enthusiasm towards the topic. So tomorrow we'll continue. So now we come to our topic. Yesterday it was a huge, wonderful, rainy storm here. As I was speaking, the wind was blowing, the rain was coming in, the curtains were all flying around. It was crashing like anything all around us. It was a huge inundation of rain, and it was ecstatic in one sense, but speaking these very profound truths through all that distracting circumstances, I think I lost a lot. I wasn't personally able to focus entirely on the subject matter as we were reading it. Something was there. So I don't think it will be at all to our disadvantage just to read again basically what we read yesterday. Not quite the whole thing, but most of it. So, because two important questions are here that Vijay, who is it? Vijay Kumar is asking. Two important questions. He's asking, ultimately, about the condition of lust. And when we view the topics of Vrindavan Leela or Braj-ras, we will be obstructed in entering into that realm by this material disease, this hridrogam, disease of the heart. So this is the first question that Bhajanath asks, or Vijay asks. And then the second question is about the philosophers or the analytical devotees viewing these pastimes and thinking that, oh, if there is envy in the spiritual world, then what's the problem with the enviousness of this world? What's the distinction? So the logicians and the analytical souls, they can't understand this. So this is what Babaji is addressing. So let me just read from page 708 And we'll read again what we read yesterday, and I'm sure the second time through, or maybe the third or fourth time for some of us, is going to be much more understandable and appreciated. So Vijay is saying, this is Goswami is saying, in answer to the question about those who are viewing the pastimes that apparently have so much material aspects in them, and they're seeing them from that point. So now Goswami is going to clarify. This is on page 708 at the bottom, when Goswami is saying, Vijay, what an unprecedented ras this Braja Leela is. It appears to be the same principle as the mundane Shringara ras. That means the dealings between young boys and young girls in this world. But actually it is completely the opposite, because there's no attachments there for our self-pleasure. It's all completely selfless. This is the nature of the spiritual amour, or the spiritual Vrindavan pastimes. There's not a drop of selfishness there, because both are just concerned with the happiness of the others. There's the Ashraya and the Vishaya. This is what's going to be explained. It appears to be the same principle as the mundane Shringara Ras of this world, but actually it is completely the opposite. It has been stated in the Rasa Panchadeya, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-49, that the heart disease of those who study this Leela is vanquished. This Vikriditam Brajavadubi Achamcha Vishnu, Shradanbitu Nushrunyad Artha Varanyam Ya, Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Prati Labhya. This bhakti will arise in the heart by hearing these topics. It's an amazing, there's a story of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and in the early days of the temple in America, one temple in America, Boston, there was 40 brahmacharis living in like a very, very large house, 40. And there was 3 brahmacharinis, ladies. So the spring season came, and the testonis were moving, the hormones in both men and women, and the men were becoming agitated and disturbed, and the women were feeling very much unsure of this situation. They're all practicing chanting Hare Krishna, etc. So they wrote to Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and they explained the situation. What shall we do? Prabhupada immediately wrote back and said, you get the Krishna book, the 10th canto, and you read the Gopi Geet. You call everyone in to your temple room and you read Gopi Geet. Gopi Geet has the power to purify the lust, this Hrid Rogam of the heart. Hearing these topics will purify the lust of the heart. And Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada had so much faith in that. So much faith that he told all the devotees to do like that. And because he had faith in that so strongly, the devotees, they did like that, and they cleared that whole problem. They had no more problem. They all just became far more respectful to each other. There was none of the familiarity was there. So this was due to the mercy of the Gopi Geet, of listening to that pastime. So this is a very powerful example of how this is a reality. When we hear these topics, it'll purify the dirt and contamination of the heart. So that is the antidote, that is the medicine for purification. So this is what he's saying, that the heart disease of those who study this Leela is vanquished. If we study this Leela, it's vanquished. What is the heart disease of the conditioned soul? Material lust. This lust naturally arises in those who identify themselves with male or female body. We identify ourselves as a male or female in relationship to each other. on that platform. That platform is the mundane world. We should understand what is the material world and what is the spiritual world. Yes, I'm not advanced enough to see myself as off that platform, but at the same time, I'm understanding that to appreciate that is going to be the key into rising above this material disease of lust. Composed of 7 dhatus such as flesh and blood. Yes, flesh and blood are the material components, which are temporary, and who take shelter of the subtle body by accepting an identity consisting of desires pertaining to the mind, intelligence, and false ego. The subtle body produces the desires, the gross body acts on those desires. The subtle body is mind, intelligence, and false ego. That is the subtle body. And it's been, the gross body is being prompted by the mind, which is the subtle body. So, if we take shelter of the mind, then we cannot rise above this level. We only have the mind, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes, as the instrument to reach transcendence. So the mind must be purified. What's the first instruction that Rupa Goswami gives us? Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udara Prasara Vegam. This is the first instruction he gives us in Upadeshamrita. How can you enter these topics when still the mind is uncontrolled and wavering and hovering on this material platform? It's not going to be possible. But if we take shelter of these topics, then the mind will become controlled. That is the point. That is about the story that I just told you about Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. If we take shelter of these topics, the mind will become controlled. Nothing has the power to remove this lust easily. Arjuna, he says in the end of the 3rd chapter, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Raja Guna Samutkana, in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, this all-devouring enemy of lust. So Goswami is bringing this point in now. If that is not being attempted to be controlled, then how can we enter these topics and see them clearly? We must become very, very serious and sober in our practice. There is no other way. There is no other way, there is no other way. Nothing has the power to remove this lust easily. It can only be dispelled by the continuous cultivation of endeavors and moods in pursuit of Braj Leela. Endeavors and moods in pursuit of Braj Leela. That means meditating on the beautiful sweet pastimes of Brajendrananda and Shyam Sundar. And this is what this Bhakti Ras is all indicating us to go towards. In this Siddhanta, you will see the miraculous feature of the Sringara Ras of Vrindavan Leela. You will also realize that although Nirvishesh Brahm is characterized by self-satisfaction, Atmaram, this uppercut Sringara Ras considers it quite insignificant and throws it very far away. Yes, we leave that world of desire for moksha, reigning splendidly for all time. Moreover, the Sringara Ras reigns splendidly for all time. Moreover, the Sringara Ras externally exists with a brilliance that fully and perfectly diminishes the value of the opulence of the transcendental Vaikuntha world in the spiritual sky. So we've said that example before. Like if you have a glass of water and you put a spoonful of salt, the water represents Madhurya Ras. So the salt is that right? Yeah. No, the salt is Aishwarya, and the water represents Madhurya. So if you have a glass of water and you put 1 spoonful of salt in and mix it, it's very salty. This is like the degree of the Aishwarya in Vaikuntha. There's not so much Madhurya. There's no Madhurya, basically. It's all Aishwarya. Aishwarya Bhav in Vaikuntha. But if you take a huge quantity of salt and you throw it into the Ganga, the salt is Aishwarya, then that Aishwarya is going to mix with the Madhurya and be completely covered. There's going to be no taste of Aishwarya externally manifesting. although it's much deeper inside. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives this beautiful example of this. Moreover, yes, so that's what it's saying here. The glories of Sringara Rasa are unsurpassed. There is Sandra Ananda, highly condensed bliss in this ras, but there is no dry pleasure, Sukshananda, no happiness derived from inert matter, Jadananda, and not even limited happiness, Sankuchitananda. It is the embodiment of complete Ananda, and in order to achieve the completion of ras in this Purnananda, in many instances the unlimited varieties of bhav are afflicted with mutually opposite bhavs. In some circumstances, these opposing bhavs are affectionate, and in other circumstances, they consist of emotions such as enmity. So this was his question, was about the enmity. How can logicians view the apparent enmity or enviousness in the spiritual world? If someone is looking at the pastimes that we've been describing in Braj Leela, where the gopis become very envious of one another. There's Chandravali's Vipaksh, there's Radharani's Swapaksh, and they have rivalry, competition. It would appear to be mundane, but what is being explained is that none of this is mundane. It's all to enhance the beauty and sweetness of the Leela, to increase the excitement of the activities, the Leela between them. They are simply varieties of fascinating transformations of Paramananda. Yes. They surge up like waves which excite the ocean of ras. Sri Rupa Goswami's conclusion is that bhav is possessed of wonderful variegatedness. The various bhavs that are completely compatible with each other are in relation to Swapaksh. So in Swapaksh, Radharani's party, the bhavs are all compatible for Radharani. Now, the bhavs in the Surit Paksh, the next one, they are mostly compatible. They are slightly incompatible in relation to the Surit Paksh. When the incompatible bhavs predominate, and there are very few compatible bhavs, those bhavs are called Tatashta. And when all the bhavs are completely incompatible, those groups of bhavs are in relation to Vipaksh. So they seem incompatible to Radharani's group. Another point is that when these bhavs are incompatible, they are not mutually pleasing. Both parties are not pleased. Only the Vipaksh are pleased. The Swapaksh are not pleased. That is why they give rise to enmity and similar sentiments in this Paramananda Ras. These are very deep subject matters, and I'm reading them very quickly because we read them yesterday. And I hope that you're keeping up with it and you can follow through. But we need to read again for ourselves. So Vijay is saying, what is the necessity for Paksha and Vipaksh bhavs? Why should there be two camps? Goswami, when the bhavs of two nayakas are equal, the bhav of rivalry occurs. So when they're both equal. And consequently, the moods of friendship and hostility perform their activities as transformations of ras. So friendship and hostility, they create transformations of rasa. We can't understand these topics from a material point of view. We have to put our consciousnesses into that spiritual realm just for a moment and realize a place without envy, without enmity. And if it's all for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna, then there's no deep-seated enmity at all. It's all blissful. You should understand that this is also only to enrich the supreme sweetness of the Akhand Shringara Ras. Vijay, are the two Shaktis, Srimati Radha and Chandravali, equal from the point of view of Tattva? Goswami, no. Only Srimati Radhika, who is composed entirely of Mahabhav, is the essence of Hladini. Chandravali is her Kaya Vyuha, bodily expansion, and is unlimitedly less qualified than Srimati Radhika. We explained all this yesterday. Nevertheless, in Shringara Ras, Chandravali has a mood of equality with Radha, so that a rivalry emerges to nourish the prem ras. Again, consider this. The bhav of these two Yateswaris cannot be completely compatible. If somehow or other it seems to be so, that is simply a coincidence. And then he gives an example of coincidence, just like the shape eaten by a bookworm out of the pages of a book might accidentally resemble a letter of the alphabet. Actually, the Svapaksh and Vipaksh bhavs of ras occur naturally. So to understand Srimati Radhika, we need to understand all the different gopis and the different rasas and the different individual moods of them, their connections with each other. So this whole chapter is about describing the different natures of the gopis. So we're getting a much bigger picture of who are these gopis, not just a big group and they're all the same. They're all so incredibly different. Vijay, Prabhu, you have dispelled whatever small doubts I had. Now, Vijay is going to capsulate basically what he's understood in the next 2 paragraphs. So this is like going over what we've already been through. Prabhu, you have dispelled whatever small doubts I had. Your sweet instructions have entered my heart through the path of my ears, and they are destroying all my bitterness. I have fully understood Alamba, the object of the abode of Ras, in regard to the Vibhav of Madhura-rasa. Satchidananda Krishna is the one and only Nayak, and I am meditating upon his qualities, form and activities. He has the temperament of Nirodhata, Dhira-lalit, Dhira-shanta and Dhira-datta, and he eternally performs his lila as a Nayak in the roles of Pati and Upapati, so as husband and as Parakiya. As a lover, he is Anukul, faithful, Dakshin, sincere, Shata, cheating, and Drista, reckless and bold. He is always served by friends who arrange his meetings, Chetaka, dress him, Vita, and make jokes, Vidushaka, and by his masseurs, Pitamardaka, and his most intimate friends, Priyanam Sakhis. He is fond of playing on the Vamsi. Today, Krishna has appeared in my heart as the Vishaya of Ras. So he's just describing the different characteristics and nature of the Vishaya, because in Vibhav, there's 2. There's the Ashraya and the Vishaya. This was described before. At the same time, I have also understood how the beautiful young women of Braj are the Ashraya of Madhurya-rasa. These gopis are Nayakas. Nayakas are divided into 2 types, Swakiya and Parakiya. In Braj, the Parakiya Nayakas are the Ashraya of Shringara-rasa. And they are the 3 types. They are of 3 types, Sadhanapara, Devi, and Nityapriya. The attractive damsels of Braj divide into groups in which they serve Krishna, and millions of lovely Brajagopis are subordinate to one of the many Yuteshwaris. Among all the Yuteshwaris, Sri Radha and Sri Chandravali are prominent. In Sri Radha's Yut, there are 5 kinds of Sakhi, namely the Sakhi, Nitya Sakhi, Pran Sakhi, Priya Sakhi, and Parama Shrestha Sakhi. Although the Parama Shrestha Sakhis, who are also known as Astasakis, are qualified to be Yuteshwaris, they do not create separate Yuts because they desire to remain the followers of Sri Radha. The Sakhis under their guidance are collectively called their Gan, for instance, Lalita Gan, Vishaka Gan, and so on. So I'm reading a little bit quickly because I want to get to this bhajan before we conclude here. So I'll just read through, I'm just going to read through straight here. Nayikas are divided into 3 types, Mugdha, Madhya, and Pragalbha. So we've discussed these. And of these, the Madhya and Pragalbha are each divided into 3 further categories, Dhira, Adhira, and Dhira Dhira. These 6 categories plus Mugdha make 7 categories in all, which are divided into 2 types, Swakiya and Parakiya, to make 14 types in all. The category of unmarried Nayika Kanya is added to these 14 to make a total of 15 categories of Nayika. These 15 types of Nayaka have the 8 avashta, conditions or situations, beginning with abhisarika and so on. And all these categories are divided again into Uttam, Madhyam and Kanishta to make a sum total of 360, which is 15 times 8 times 3, types of Nayaka. The distinct types of behavior, Vyavahara, of the Yuteshwaris, such as the Surit, as well as their purposes, Tatparya, have awakened within my heart. Vijay is speaking here. I have also understood the duties of the Sakhis and the messengers, the duties. Now I have learned all of these topics. I have an understanding of the Ashraya Tattva of Ras, and by combining this with the details of Vishaya Tattva of Ras, of the Vishaya Tattva of Ras, I have also understood the Alamban Tattva, which is included within the subject of Vibhav. And tomorrow I will learn about Udipan. Krishna has shown me unlimited kindness by giving me the association of a Sadguru like yourself. I am taking my nourishment by drinking the liquid nectar flowing from your lotus mouth. Sri Gopal Guru Goswami embraced Vijay and said, "My dear son, I have also become successful by attaining a disciple like you. As you make more inquiries, Sri Nityananda Prabhu is personally replying to those questions through my mouth." Tears of praying began to cascade from his eyes of both Guru and Shishya. When the Mahatmas, such as Dayana Chandra, witnessed Vijay's immense fortune, they became immersed in Paramananda. Just then, some Shuddha Vaishnavas arrived outside Radhakant Mat and began to sing some shlokas composed by Chandidas. So I read that quite quickly because we read it yesterday, and I went over it briefly. And I commented yesterday that my feelings on this chapter were just to read it again and again, because every sentence is packed with an understanding deeper. And if we start to think about these things, it'll be amazing where the heart will actually be transported to and transformed. So we'll sing this bhajan that they were listening to. Sai Sakhe Kabai Sonoila Shyama Nama Sai Sakhi Naila Shyama Nama Sai Sakhe Kabai Sonaila Shyama Nama Sai Sakhe Kabai Sonaila Shyama Nama Kanera Vitara Diya Marama Pashila Go Kanera Vitara Diya Marame Pashila Go Akula Karila Mora Prana Karila Mora Prana Najani Kanake Madhu Shyama Nama Arche Go Najani Ketaka Madhu Shyama Nama Arche Go Padana Chadita Nahi Para Padana Chadita Nahi Para Isake Kevo Sunaile Shamaname Isake Kevo Sunaile. Oh my dear Sakhi, who is that person who first made me hear the name Shyam? When it enters my heart through my ears, I become overwhelmed with impatience. I don't know how much sweetness fills this name. It is so sweet that my tongue will not leave it for a moment. Sai Sakhe Kabe Se Noile Shyamana Sai Sake Kabo Sonaile Japite Japite Nam Avashakari Lago
Javite Javite Ram Avashakari Lago
Kemone Paibo Saitare
Kemone Paibo Saitare
Nama Paritape Jara Achana Kari Lago Paritape Jara Achana Kari Lago Angare Parase Kibunhaya Angara Parase Sai Sake Kevo Sonaile Shamanama Sai Sake Ile Shamanama. I don't know how much sweetness fills this name. It is so sweet, my tongue will not leave it for a moment. As I go on repeating this name, I become completely absorbed. O Saki, how will I ever be able to meet him? Sai Sake Kabo e Sonile Shamanama Sai Sake
Keva Sunaila Shamanama
Yekane Vasati Tara Sekane Takiyago
Yekane Vasita Tara
Sekane Takiyago Yuvati Dharma Kaijaya Yuvati Dharma Kaijaya Parashrita Karimon Pasharana Joyego Pasharita Karimon Ikari Bekiha Be Upad Ya Sai Sake Kebo Sunaile Shamanama Sai Sake Kebo Sunile Shamanama Kai Dvija Chandi Dasa Kulavati Kula Nashae Kahe Dvija Chandi Dasa Kulavati Kula Nashe Apanara Yovane Jachaya Apanara Yovana Jachaya Sai Sake Kebo Sunaile Shamanama
Sai Sake Keva Sunaila Shamanama
Sai Sake Kebo Sunaile Shamanama Sai Sake Kebo Sunaile Shamanama. That person's name alone has the power to put me in such a condition. I cannot even imagine what my condition would be if I were to touch his body. Wherever he stays, how can the young women maintain their religious principles? In my heart, I want to forget him, but I cannot. Now I cannot understand what is the remedy, what to do. Dvija Chandidas says that Shyamananda has destroyed the dynasty of chaste ladies by showing his youthful beauty. They continue to chant this kirtan with mridanga and kartals for an hour and a half, and all became immersed in prem. When their absorption subsided somewhat, Vijay Kumar offered his respects to the Vaishnavas according to their eligibility. He then offered his sastan pranam to Sri Guru Goswami and set off for his residence at Harishchandi Sahi. Thus ends the 34th chapter of Jaiva Dharma, entitled Madhura-rasa-vicara, different categories of Sakhis. So, I'm sorry for the kirtan. It should have been sung much more beautifully than that. But anyway, try to put something together. But this is an incredible chapter. And as I said yesterday, the same thing, that we should feel inspired just to read again and again. But tomorrow we'll go forward with chapter 35, this Madhura-rasa-vicara Udipan. So we'll discuss this tomorrow. Shri Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai.